Hear the word of the Lord this morning. Exodus chapter 20, verses 2 and 3. I am the Lord your God, who rescued you from the land of Egypt, the place of your slavery. You must not have any other God but me. May God add his blessing to the reading of his word. I'm going to ask you today, got some candy here. Big share size bag of Skittles or a mini Snickers. Which of these do you think best represents our relationship with God? Well, our inclination might be to say the bigger one, right? Like God's big. We're supposed to share God's love. I guess we go a lot of ways with this. But I'm going to tell you that I do think this bag represents how we treat God. Not how God wants us to treat him, but often how we treat him. This bag is like our hearts. And we share our hearts with a lot of things, and not just God. And God is just one flavor among the many things that we allow to fill our hearts. God doesn't like that. God doesn't want to share your heart. Instead, God wants you to treat him like this mini candy bar. Have you ever gotten one of these and said, "Hey, do you want to split this with me?" Of course not, right? You don't cut it in half. You just eat the whole thing, right? This is meant for one person. And God is saying, this is how I want you to treat me in your heart. There's no sharing of me. There's not even a thought that anyone else can have your heart but me. It's mine and mine alone. We've looked at Exodus chapter 19 and 20 the last couple weeks, and we've seen where God comes together with his people on Mount Sinai, and he begins to speak this language of commitment to them, of beginning a covenant relationship. And so we're going to look each week now at the commitments that God calls his people to. We call these often the 10 Commandments. I want us to think them of the 10 commitments that God is calling his people to, and that God also calls us to. And so we're going to begin to look about how God calls us to be committed to him in a covenant relationship. And we begin with God saying, I am not willing to share you. You're mine, and I am yours. He views your heart in your mind as that bite-sized candy. There's not enough of you to share with anyone else. And so what that means is this. Either God gets the whole piece, or he doesn't want any of it. He's all or nothing. He doesn't want to share. So let's look at this commandment a little closer. And as we look at these commandments, I want us to ask 3 simple questions, and they'll lead us in different places with each commandment. But the simple questions are this. What is this commandment? What is it? What does it tell me about God? Because if we're talking about a relationship and these are commitments, they communicate to us about both people in the relationship. So what does it tell us about God, and what does it tell me about me? And then, how does it point me to Jesus? What does this have to do not with the commitment of Israelites in the wilderness, but with me here today in my life? So let's ask that first question. What is the actual commandment? And this one seems pretty simple to us, where God says, there's only one God, and you're to have no gods but me. For us in our culture, this is not new. But you have to understand that standing on Mount Sinai, this is the first time this concept has ever been uttered in the human race. The concept that there aren't many gods, and that you can't pick from this pantheon, but there's one God and only one God. So for the Israelites, when they hear this, for 420 years they've lived in Egypt and they've heard of all these Egyptian gods, and they're going to go and they're going to find out about the gods in the Baal cult, and they're going to find out about gods from Babylon, and they're going to find out about gods from Greece and Rome and all these other places. And God is saying, none of those are gods, only I am. There's one God, and it's me. That is a revolutionary concept when it's uttered here at Mount Sinai. That has never existed before in any culture or religion. It begins here. So when they hear it, this isn't just something simple that is old news to them. This is eye-opening. It's revolutionary. It's the first time they've ever heard it. And what God is saying here is simply this. Understand it this way. There's none before me. There's none beside me. There's none after me. Okay? There's none before me. I'm number one on the list. I'm above everybody else. The glory, the honor, the praise, it's due to me. I'm number one. Then there's none beside. Beside means equal. I'm not tied for first place. I'm not going to share that glory, honor, and praise. There's none after me. There's only one person on the list. There's no other gods. It's just me. Nobody gets put before me. Nobody gets seen as equal to me. Nobody's even behind me, because I've got all the glory, all the honor, all the praise, so there's no room left on the list for anyone else. This commandment for them is simply, there are no gods but Yahweh. There are no gods before him, beside him, or after him. There's one God and one God only. Moses, when they get close to the promised land, and Moses is reiterating the covenant with them and reminding them of the covenant relationship. Think of that as like a vow renewal. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Moses expresses this commandment with these words. Listen, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. You must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I'm giving you today. So just look at what Moses reiterates. Yahweh is our God. Once in all capital letters like that, that's the name Yahweh. Yahweh is our God. And he's our only God. There's one. There's one God. And you must love him. Now, does it say you have to love the Lord your God with your heart, your soul, and your mind? No. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart. So if you love him with all your heart, there's nothing left to give to anybody else, right? All your strength, all your mind, everything. You love him with it all. He is God, and he is alone as God, and all that's due him, we don't give to anyone else. We commit to love the Lord God with everything. This is the commandment that we saw Jesus reiterate to us in the New Testament. This is what it means to follow the law, and that is to love God with everything that we have. So what does this commandment teach us about God, about who God is? The God that we're committing to, what do we learn about him from this? 3 simple things. Number 1, he's due all the glory. He's worthy of all the glory, not because he's selfish, not because he's greedy, but because he's worth it. He alone is worthy of it, and nobody else compares to him. Number 2, we learn he is jealous. And when we say the word jealous, we normally mean it in a bad way, right? We call somebody jealous, there's a negative connotation. But if a husband or a wife says, I want you to be only with me, that makes them jealous. You are mine, and mine alone. And we don't look at that negatively, do we? That's what we're talking about with God. God is saying, I don't want to share your mind, your heart, your time, your attention, your focus. I won't share my glory with another, and I won't share you with another. Remember, he introduces them this whole thing by saying, not just I'm the Lord your God, follow me, But remember, I'm the God who led you out of Egypt. So what he's reminding them of is this. For 420 years, you followed other gods and you lived in chains. And now you follow me and you're free. That's what all the other gods lead you to. That's what all the other things you love and trust lead you to. But following me, when I'm jealous and you give me all of you, I give you a new life. I free you from all those things. Number 3, from this, we learn he is unique. There is none like him. There's no one like our God. We worship God alone because he is the only God, and there's none that compare to him. When we are called to give God all glory, all honor, all praise, this is why, because of his unique nature. He alone is worth all of that. So what do I learn about me? What do we learn about ourselves from this commandment? This is 2 ends of a commitment. God is committed to us. This is who he is. Who am I supposed to be? Well, our commitment here is an all or nothing commitment. Here's what I learned about me. That we have a choice. We can follow God. We can live in obedience to what he asks us to. Or we can follow somebody else. Something else. We have a choice. This is how God has painted this commitment throughout Scriptures. Let me give you some examples. Joshua, chapter 24. Israel, we're at the end of this story. They find the promised land. They've conquered all the enemies. They get everything that God has to give them. And Joshua gives them one last speech. And he says to them at the end of this, "So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever the idols your ancestors worshipped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt. Serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, then choose today who you will serve. Would you prefer the gods of your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live? But as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord." They've held on to these gods from Egypt. And they live in a new land where they have other gods to give to them and encourage them to follow. And Joshua says, you got to make a choice. You can't follow all these gods. You got to pick one. Your heart's not big enough for all of them. Choose today who you will serve. Elijah gives us the same choice. 1 Kings chapter 18. He's on Mount Carmel. It's Elijah against 450 prophets of Baal, and they are standing there on the mountain. And before they do the whole call fire down from heaven thing, listen to what Elijah says. He stood in front of them and said, "How much longer will you waver, hobbling between 2 opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, then follow him." He says, you guys are trying to have it 2 ways. You're trying to follow God and other gods. Pick. Decide. Make a choice. Stop. We live so often with a foot in 2 worlds. I'm going to give part of my life to God, and then I'm going to give part of my life to these other things. But God tells us continually, you have to choose. He is not willing to share you with anyone or anything else. Make a choice. Jesus does the same thing. Matthew chapter 6. Now, Jesus is talking to people here who would say, we don't have a problem with other gods anymore. We've got this, our ancestors were bad at this. We got this first commandment down, though. We serve God. We don't have the gods from Egypt. We don't follow the gods of Rome. We're good. But listen to what Jesus says to them. This is in the Sermon on the Mount. "No one can serve 2 masters, for you hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." So he tells them, yeah, they might not be the gods of these other worlds, but there are things in this world that you love more than God. Yeah, you might not be following the gods of Rome, but you live for money. You live for the things of the world. And that's your real God. And you're trying to serve God and serve the things of the world at the same time. That's not having only one God. That's living for more than one thing. So we are presented today with the same choice. All or nothing. God is telling us the same thing. Make a choice. Decide who you live for. I want you to live for me. But if it's not going to be for me, stop pretending like you are while you're living for something else. So here's the question. How do I know? How do I really know if I'm living all for God? Because most of us, I think, would like to think that we are, or at least that we're trying to. So how do we know? I want to give you a litmus test. Martin Luther once said, "Whatever a heart clings to and confides in is our God." That's the test. What does your heart cling to? What does it love? What does your heart confide in? What does it trust? I want you to think about that today. What do you love? 3rd century theologian Origen wrote, "What each one honors before all else, what before all things he admires and loves, this is for him is God." What do you love? What do you desire? What do you live for? When you can think about anything you want to, what do you think about? What do you concentrate on? What do you spend your money on? What are you passionate about? It can be anything from money to your career to power to a hobby to an ambition. It can be a person. It can be a relationship. It can be something that's intrinsically good. It doesn't have to be something bad. But we take something good and we put it in a position it was never created or intended to be in. We love it with all of our hearts. And if we love it, it means we don't love God with all our hearts. And that's our God. Not that God is saying you can't have these things in your life. We put them in their proper place. And when we put them not in the right place, when we put them in that place that belongs to God and should belong to Him alone, they become our God and He is not. We've made a choice. What do you trust? In those moments when you're lonely, when you're discouraged, when you're depressed, what do you turn to? You come home from a long day. And it's been hard and it's brutal, and you say, I need a drink. Some people in the middle are, I need a smoke. I need a whatever. That's what you trust. That's what you think is going to fix what you're feeling. That's what you think is going to fix the pain and the hurt. If we've chosen God, what we say after that long day is, I need Jesus. He's the one who can help me with those things. We can use anything from drugs or alcohol or food or sex or shopping or job or exercise, any obsession to pull us through. That becomes our God. That becomes what we trust in. We can trust in governments or insurance or economies or a family or a social status, science, medicine, things that God has given us, things that are good, things that have their place. But when we put our confidence in them, when that's what we trust, when that's what we turn to, that's what becomes our God. That's what we live for. You've made a choice. We all want to believe that we're all in for God and for nothing else. That we're totally committed to this relationship with Him. But we are all prone to making those wrong choices, just like the Israelites were. And we can come here on a Sunday morning and we can sing songs about how there's no one like our God, and yet we spend all of our time thinking about me and my needs and my problems and my struggles. And then who is my God? I am. That's often the real choice. It's not all these other things. I choose me over God. I become my God and follow my way instead of His. How does this command point us to Jesus? How do we get to Jesus from here? I want you to think about how the command starts. Where God says, I'm the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt, who freed you from slavery. God almost anticipates that they have this question, why? Where God says, it's me and nothing else, and they're saying, but why? Why can't we have all these other gods? Why are you the right one? Why should we be only for you? Why should you be our only God? Why should we love you? Why should we trust you? And God says, Egypt. That's why. Because you were crying out to me in pain, and I freed you from that. Because you were stuck in a spot you couldn't get out of, and I parted the Red Sea and led you through it. Because your enemies were chasing after you, and you couldn't overcome them, and I wiped them out. Because you were thirsty, and I gave you something to drink. Because you were hungry, and I gave you something to eat. Because I've led you and guided you every step of the way. I am the only one, because I'm the only one who could do any of those things for you. He's not just saying, I want to be the only God in your life. He's telling them, I have been the only God in your life. None of the other things that you've trusted in have been God. I have. And so it is with us. But God doesn't point to Egypt for us. He points to the cross. The cross says, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of slavery to sin, who redeemed you with a price, who committed my life for loving you, so that you would no longer have to live in the chains of slavery, the chains of your past, the chains of your pain, the chains of your guilt, who's done for you what no one else could do for you, what no one else would do for you. Jesus has given all for you. He made a choice, and he chose you. And now he's asking you to give up your all for him. All or nothing at all. I read this article in 2019 that really made me look at the world differently. It was from Esquire magazine. Not a Christian magazine, not a Christian article. But it was talking about some of the big companies that we trust in, that we give more of our trust than anything else. Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Google, and how powerful they've become in our lives. And the article came to make this argument, that Google is our God. And as much as that might sound silly, listen to what, this is a secular author, listen to what he writes. As more and more people become alienated from traditional religion, we look to Google as our immediate, all-knowing oracle of answers, from trivial to profound. Google is our modern-day God. Think back on every fear, every hope, every desire you've confessed to Google's search box. And then ask yourself this: is there any entity you've trusted more with your secrets? Does anybody know you better than Google? And so he makes these 9 arguments. That Google, for us, is omniscient. We trust it to know everything. We got a question, we got a problem, I find a symptom for an illness, I trust that Google can give me the answer. It knows it all. It's omnipresent. I got it in my pocket right now. Most of us do. It's with us all the time. It answers prayers. You search for your questions and your problems and trust the answers it gives you. We treat it like it's immortal. Like it's never going to die. It's never going to go anywhere. It's infinite. It's endless. During our service today, I did the numbers. There'll be about 885 million Google searches while we're here. 16.4 billion every day. It remembers all. Well, that should frighten you, but it's true. Even if you think you've made it forget, it remembers. We don't think it can do evil. We trust it. Here's the wild thing. If you look at the numbers of what searched the most, number one, do you know what the number one thing searched on Google is in 2024? YouTube. Who's YouTube owned by? Google, right? YouTube is one of the next largest search engines in the world. So we're not even talking about its subsidiaries. We're not even talking the other things in the top 10 like Google Translate and Google Maps. People search Google on Google almost more than anything else. You know, let me tell you this. If you're searching Google on Google, you are Googling wrong. That's not how it works. So just know, you're already there. Just put your question in. People search the word Google more than God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Judaism combined. What do we love and trust in? Pastor and Professor James Emery White says this: whatever you love most, serve most, seek out most, give to the most, worship the most, care about the most is your God. Your God can be your career, your bank account, the way you look, a particular position or degree, influence, power, or physical pleasure. It can even be something that is considered intrinsically good, yet you allow it to dominate your life more than God, such as your marriage or your family. Your God is whatever you allow to control you, to be the ultimate guide to decision-making, the place of your supreme loyalty, and the source of your self-worth. What have you chosen as your God today? We ask the worship team to come up. And as we're closing, if we allow ourselves to be honest today and look at our lives with open eyes, we'll find that there are things that we've loved and trusted in our lives more than God. People and things you didn't realize you loved so much. People and things you didn't realize you trusted so much. And God is asking you today to choose. Will you love Him or them? He's not telling you they can't be in your lives to love Him. He's saying you can't love them in place of Him. He's not telling you you can't trust other things or look to answers for other. God has created those things and He uses them in our lives. But they can't be the first thing we turn to and confide in. If the Lord is God, then follow Him. If these other people are your things, are your gods, then follow them. But if you choose to follow them, know today they won't bring you what Jesus can. They will bring to your heart and life what He can. And so often we accuse God of not doing what we trusted Him for in life because we haven't really trusted Him to do it. We've trusted these other gods and that He's going to use what we choose as our God to work in our lives. And that's not how God works. You either love and trust Him or you don't. Make your choice today. You cannot serve both God and anything else. It's all or nothing. And so as we stand today and we sing the words of the song as a prayer, that there is none like you. There's no one else that can touch, that can move, that can change my heart like Jesus Christ has. May that be our confession today. That we've trusted things other than Him, but today we want to make that choice. That me and my family are going to serve the Lord and Him alone. Love Him with everything. Your heart, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your strength. Give it all to Him. He's already given all for you. And now He's asking you to commit yourself to Him in the same way He's committed Himself to you. Let's stand and sing this today as our prayer to Him.